What is going on, guys? Money Webby here. We're back with my favorite NFL DFS picks for Week 9. Not sure how it's already Week 9. This year has literally flown by, but we still got plenty of time to be making some money on DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever you play on here. So I love the picks for this week. I feel very confident in them. We got some bye weeks here, so some less guys to choose from, but there still is some great options out there. I narrowed down my picks. I got 3 guys at every single position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Also got some defenses for you guys this week, so definitely watch the whole thing. I got plenty of great guys to throw in your lineups. But before we get going, make sure to leave a like on the video. It really helps me out, guys. We got over 200 likes last week. Crazy amount of support. Let's try to reach over that again. Really helps me get exposure on these videos. And subscribe if you haven't already to get these DraftKings picks every single week for the NFL. I do NBA every day, do some NFL betting picks, so definitely keep it locked here. Just by subscribing, you can turn notifications on to get alerted every time I upload. So not before we get going, let's just dive in here with quarterbacks. We got Watson at the top, 8,100, going against the Colts. A very good matchup, but I don't think he can nearly hit the same upside that he's been hitting recently like he did against the Seahawks. That game was a shootout. Not sure that Brissett can really keep up with Watson in this game. So I see some more Lamar Miller in this spot for the Texans here, rather than Watson throwing the ball more. So I'm not sure he can nearly return value on that price tag at 8,100. So I'm trying to look at other options down below, like Drew Brees at 7,000. He's my first guy going against the Bucs. A very good matchup. Their secondary is very suspect. So I think Brees can have a big game here. He's been throwing the ball well, like averaging over 10 yards a pass over the last 2 games. The yardage has been there, but he just hasn't been getting lucky with the touchdowns. Ingram has been running those in for the Saints. So I think some positive regression is due here for Brees in the Dome against the Bucs. I think he'll be throwing some more touchdowns here, and that means he'll have a good game. So, like, he had 24 DraftKings points 2 weeks ago against the Packers. He ran one in. I think he can get over 20 pretty easily against the Bucs here. And if Winston can keep up with Drew Brees here, he's going to have a huge game. He seems a bit priced down to me at 7,000, so I love the price. Drew Brees, definitely one of my favorite quarterback options. But my favorite this week is going to be Dak Prescott at 6,700, going against the Chiefs secondary, another bad secondary. They only have Marcus Peters back there that really can do anything. Their second cornerback, Mitchell, has been getting destroyed this year, allowing the most yardage out of any cornerback in the league. So I think Dez is going to have a huge game here, and Dak is going to have a huge game as well. It's looking like Zeke is going to be suspended for this game, so that just means more attempts for Prescott in this game, and it should be a lot closer than what we've seen the last 2 games for the Cowboys. They got up pretty easily against the Redskins in the second half in that ugly game. It was like downpouring that game. So that game was kind of fluky. He only got 7 DraftKings points, but maybe some people are off him because of that game. But against San Fran, they blew them out. Only 25 attempts, and he still got us 29 DraftKings points. I think the Chiefs can keep up here. It should be a very close game. Prescott, some more attempts, some more volume for him, and Dez has a very easy matchup on the outside there. So I think Prescott is going to have a huge week here at 6,700. He can return a ton of value on that price. So he's my favorite quarterback option for the week. Dak and Drew at the top are 2 guys I love. And for a bit of a cheaper guy, Jared Goff at 5,500. I wasn't really that big on him, but before the Janoris Jenkins news broke, he is not playing this game because of some team violation. So that's that is their best cornerback by far. Some other guys have been struggling this year, like Eli Apple. So I think Jared Goff has a very good matchup here against the Giants. He's had some nice weeks this year, like he had 23, 18, and 19. 3 games this year so far. Not really crazy upside, but this Giants team, they haven't been able to get pressure on anyone, it seems like, this year. And that's when Jared Goff is at his best. When he has time in the pocket, he really can pick you apart. So with no Jenkins and no real pass rush, and the Giants have a pretty stout interior defensive line. So Gurley could struggle a bit. I think Goff is going to have a big game here. Watkins, Woods, Kupp on the inside. He has a ton of options to really pick apart the secondary without Jenkins. So I think Goff can return a ton of value at 5,500 if you're trying to save some money at quarterback. So those are the 3 guys I'm looking at quarterback. You got Goff at 5,500. You got Dak Prescott at 67 and Drew Brees at 7,000. I would go Dak as my guy. He's my top play. And then Drew Brees and then Jared Goff. That's how I would rank the three. But it depends on how you're trying to do it this week at quarterback. So that's what I got. Now, looking at running back here, we got Zeke Elliott at the top at 9,000, but I think he's going to be suspended. He's currently listed as out. I think he's going to be out here. So I am really big on a Kareem Hunt, though, at 8,600 going against the Cowboys. This is a very good matchup. Currently ranked 29th against running backs. Their defensive line isn't that great against the run, and their offensive line for the Chiefs is finally getting healthy. They're getting their starting guard back and their center. I think he was back last week, so they're going to have their whole starting line back for this game, most likely, against the Cowboys. And that was when Kareem Hunt was really going off, when they had the full band of brothers up front. He had, like, crazy games beginning of the year. Then their guard got hurt and kind of been struggling recently because of that. So with everyone healthy, I think Kareem Hunt can have a big game here against the bad run defense, like I was talking about. He's coming off a bad game against the Broncos, so maybe he's a bit more motivated, a little more angry, trying to get over that 100 yards on scrimmage again, like he's been getting every single week against last week. I mean, the Broncos, that's pretty much the worst matchup you can have against the run. Their defensive line is crazy, so I think Kareem Hunt has a much easier matchup here. The Cowboys' run defense is graded out as the second worst run defense, according to Pro Football Focus, so I think Hunt is due for a big game here, and then maybe they're even working from behind a bit against the Cowboys, and maybe he gets some more involved in the passing game on top of that, so Hunt could just have a huge game here at 8,600. I love him as a top running back option for this week at the top at 8,600. And for some cheaper guys to pair with him, you can't really pay up for two running backs here because I'm going to try to pay up at quarterback as well. So I figured I would recommend a cheaper guy here, Joe Mixon at 5,100 going against the Jags. We know their secondary is absolutely insane on the outside with Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, and just all those guys back there. They're insanely good. So their run defense has really been the way to attack them this year. They've been giving up 138 rushing yards per game. That's the worst in the NFL. And Joe Mixon's snaps were at the highest last week. 62% of the team's snaps on offense. And he got some touches. Really wasn't able to do much with it on the ground. Colts' run defense is a bit underrated. So maybe we'll let that slide last week. But against the Jaguars, their run defense is very bad. So I think he can get some rushing yards and also get involved in the passing game like he has over the last 2 weeks. He got a 67-yard catch last week, so that really shows what he adds to this offense for this team. So I think he's going to be able to return value on that 5,100 price tag. They're going to need to get him going here against the Jags. I see them struggling a lot on the outside, so Mixon's going to need to step up here at 5,100. It's a perfect matchup for him to have a big week, and with the snaps going up, I think it's due for him to go off here. So really like him. And then for my cheapest guy, Marlon Mack at 4,100 going against Houston. Their run defense is very good, but that's not really what I'm targeting with this play. Against the Texans, the Colts should be down big here, so I think Marlon Mack is going to be on the field a lot for that passing down work. He's been very involved in it over the last two games. 3 for 36 and a touchdown in the receiving game, and 4 for 40 the week before. So I think he's going to get like at least 3 catches again in this game. That's really great for PPR on DraftKings, what we're looking at here. So at 4,100, I think he can return value on that price tag with that receiving work. And if he does anything on the ground, that would just be extra at that point. So I love Marlon Mack. They really need to get their young studs going, with the season looking like a lost year for them, with Luck maybe not even returning, and Frank Gore, he's like 100 years old now, so there's no really reason for him to use him. I think Marlon Mack, his snaps have been going up, and they should go up again here. He got 32 2 weeks ago and 39 snaps last week, so I think they'll go up to around maybe even 40 this week for Marlon Mack. So that's what I'm looking at for running back. Marlon Mack, 4,100. Then you got Joe Mixon, 51. And, of course, Kareem Hunt at the top at 86. I think he goes off this week. You got to throw him in your lineup. So that is what I got at running back. Let's move on to wide receiver now. So looking at wide receiver, you got Hopkins at the top at 9,200 going against the Colts. Like I was talking about with Watson, I think that price is just a little bit too high. Considering the game flow here, I think the Texans are going to get up big, so I'm not really trying to go Hopkins. I think Julio Jones is a solid GPP play. He has to have that breakout game eventually. He hasn't had that big game all year long. He's always good for at least one of those a year, so I think it could be here maybe against the Panthers. But my top guy that I feel very confident about is going to be Michael Thomas. His price seems too cheap for me at 7,200 going against the Bucks. Currently ranked 30th against wide receivers, and they've been struggling to really stop any wide receiver one in any single team. They're ranked 27th against wide receiver ones, and he's been pretty consistent. Definitely a good cash game play. Because he always gets those targets and those catches every single game. It seems like besides that game against Detroit, Slay really locked him down, but the Bucks have no one to really compete with Michael Thomas compared to like Darius Slay. No one even like can hold Darius Slay jockstrap on this Bucks defense. So I think Michael Thomas can easily get like 7 catches for 90 yards, and he's due for a touchdown as well. Like I was talking about with Drew Brees, that positive regression for the touchdown probably will be coming this week. So I think Michael Thomas can grab a touchdown here against the Bucks, and if the Bucks can somehow keep this close, Thomas is going to have a big game, so he has an upside as well if the game flow goes in Michael Thomas's favor as well. I'll be hoping that the Bucks can score, but the Saints defense is much improved, but Winston maybe has a little chip on his shoulder after a disaster of a game against the Panthers, but Michael Thomas, great matchup here, 7,200, too cheap. I think he easily returns value on that price tag, so I love him as a top salary guy in my lineup. But then for a cheaper guy, I think he'll be pretty chalky this week, but Dez Bryant going against the Chiefs, 6,400, another guy that is way too cheap, a great pairing with Dak Prescott, one of my favorite stacks of the week. Dez Bryant didn't get many targets against the Redskins last game, but the Redskins cornerbacks are very, very good, so I'm not really concerned about that. Like, he's been having pretty solid games every week before that. The targets were there before that. He's always going to get those red zone targets, and with no Zeke, you could easily get a few more targets like I was talking about with Dak, some more passing attempts, and against the Chiefs' bad secondary. Marcus Peters, he doesn't fall. He's a pretty good, he's like their best cornerback by far in that team. Like I was talking about, Mitchell on the other side is very bad, so Dez could move on to that side and really roast Mitchell over and over again and rack up the yards and the catches, and he can always get those touchdowns every single game. So 6,400, way too cheap for Dez Bryant. I think he has a big week there and returns a ton of value. So those are the two guys at the top I'm looking at. And for a cheap option here with Kelvin Benjamin just traded to the Panthers, I'm going to go all the way down to Curtis Samuel at 3,100 on the Panthers. Definitely more of a GPP play. But considering that Kelvin's gone, that frees up a ton of snaps. Samuel hasn't been getting that many snaps, only like 20 a game. But according to reports from the Panthers, with Kelvin gone, Funchess is going to move to his old role as the X wide receiver, and Curtis Samuel is going to move as the Z wide receiver and Funchess' old role. So I think Samuel has a very good matchup here as a second wide receiver on the team. Desmond Trufant, a very good cornerback, usually shadows wide receivers, so I think he's going to shadow Devin Funchess in this game and really lock him down. That's going to open up a lot of stuff for Samuel. On the other side against Robert Alford, who's been struggling a lot this year, he's allowed 350 yards and in coverage this year compared to Trufant's 200, so 150 more yards surrendered by Alford. So Samuel definitely has a better matchup in this game compared to Devin Funchess. So at 3,100, that price just seems way too cheap. That was priced before Kelvin Benjamin was gone. He probably would have been around 4,000 if that news broke before the prices came out. And I think he can do it. He can get some value in that 3,100. Like, his targets should go up. He only had 3 targets in like 20 snaps last game, and he should be on the field for at least like 40 to 50 snaps, I would imagine, in this spot. And I see the Panthers trailing this game, so meaning more passing for the offense. So Curtis Samuel, I think he can return value on that price. He runs the ball a bit too, so maybe you can run one in. He's a very explosive player. He can get us a touchdown at 3,100. The price is way too cheap. He can return a ton of value on that price. If you want to save some money for running back, quarterback, tight end, definitely throw Curtis Samuel in your lineup, but he's definitely risky considering he hasn't been doing much all year long, but keep him in mind at 3,100. So Curtis Samuel, and then you got Michael Thomas at 72 and Dez Bryant at 64 at the top. That's what I got at wide receiver. Let's now look at tight end here. So looking at tight end, you got Zach Ertz to the top at 6,800. He's definitely a great play, but I'm not going to recommend him because I already recommended high salary guys at wide receiver, running back, and quarterback, so it wouldn't make sense to recommend another high salary guy. I'm going to go a little bit more mid-tier with Jimmy Graham to start it off. He's in a great spot against the Redskins, currently ranked bottom 5 against tight ends. And they have some great cornerback play with Dunbar, Norman, and Breland on the outside, so they can make guys like Baldwin and Richardson really struggle on the outside, meaning more targets for Jimmy Graham on the middle of the field. So I think he can get like 8 targets in this game. He always gets those red zone looks for the Seahawks, and they've been opening up the offense. They can't really run the ball with Rawls. They get like 1 yard a carry. So Jimmy Graham, he can be the move the chains guy for this team. The target should be there. Red zone target should be there. So at 5,000, I think he can have another big game over like 10 DraftKings points, which has been like his floor over the past like 5 games there. So I think he has another solid game here. Maybe not that crazy upside as the yardage hasn't been there, but he can get that boost against the Redskins here. So I love the price at 5,000 for Jimmy Graham. And for my second guy, Vernon Davis at 4,100, going against the Seahawks. Kind of a hard matchup here, but their cornerback play is very good as well, and they need someone to step up for this Redskins offense without Jordan Reed now. Their wide receiver play has been atrocious with Josh Doxson and Terrell Pryor, so they're definitely going to struggle. I think Vernon Davis is going to have to get it done in the middle of the field for this team. They need someone to move the ball. I think that's going to be Vernon Davis here at 4,100. He's looked very good this year. He gets like 20 yards a pop almost when he gets the ball, it seems like. He gets like huge gains every single game. So if he gets another one of those and just some more work without Jordan Reed as well, I think he's going to have a big game here at 4,100. He can get a touchdown as well. He's a big body guy. And they're going to be working from behind, I think, in this game in Seattle. So Vernon Davis, some more targets without Reed. He's looked great this year. I love him as a play at 4,100. Definitely another guy to consider. So for my third and final tight end, Tower Croft, another guy that's been getting consistent targets each game, around 5 per game, and he usually comes down with all of them. So he's a very good safety blanket for Andy Dalton in this tough game against the Jags. And they're very good on the outside with their cornerback play as well. I've mentioned this for like every tight end, but with the cornerback play on the outside, they need to really look down to their tight ends in these matchups. So I think Tower Croft can have a big game here against the Jags. Another guy that's a good red zone option like Jimmy Graham. He had 1 touchdown against the Steelers, 2 against the Browns there. So he's had some big games this year, and at 3,900, he can return some upside on that price and then some. So I like Tower Croft as my third tight end. So Tower Croft, Vernon Davis, and Jimmy Graham are going to be the 3 guys I'm looking at. Both, they're all solid options here. They can get it done in the red zone, and they get those safe, consistent targets with that good cornerback play on the outside for all those matchups. Think they're very safe options. Like the quarterbacks are gonna have to throw to someone, and with those great cornerbacks on the outside, they're really gonna struggle to get the ball to their wide receivers. So their running backs and tight ends are gonna have to pick up the slack. So I love those guys. So let's look at defense now. We got the Jags at the top at 3,800. Going against the Bengals, I don't really like to pay up for the top like defenses every single week because I like to save that money to pay up some other guys at the positions like wide receiver, tight end, running back, and all that stuff. So I'm going to recommend some kind of a little bit cheaper guys. Well, this isn't really that much cheaper, but the Texans are the first defense I'm looking at. You save 200 compared to the Jaguars. I think they're in an absolutely terrific spot against the Colts. Brissett, he gets pressured a lot. He gets sacked a ton. So I think the Texans can get some sacks here and get some turnovers on him due to that pressure. And the coach should be working from behind. So maybe Brissett tries to force some balls in this matchup and they get a pick or 2 in this spot. They already have 8 picks on the year. So I think the Texans are a very good play. They've had some big games this year, 22 against Cleveland and 19 against the Titans. So I think the Texans are in a great spot. 3,600, my top defense salary-wise that I like. And for some cheaper options, you got the Philadelphia Eagles here at 3,300 going against the Broncos. They got the Brock Ness monster, Brock Osweiler, starting for this game. I think the Eagles are going to tee off on him. Another guy that can't really sense pressure. He gets sacked a ton. So I think the Eagles can get some sacks and force some turnovers in this game with some picks on Brock. Think this is a great spot. Out of Denver, the Broncos always seem like they're like lost on offense. So I think the Eagles are going to have a big game here at 3,300. I like them as with the savings compared to the top defense this week. Probably my favorite defense of the week, honestly. The Eagles, that is. And then for my last and final defense, the Los Angeles Rams at 3,100 going against the Giants, another team that gets sacked a lot and forces some balls with Eli Manning. Think they can get some sacks. They've had a ton of sacks recently, almost like 3 a game. with Aaron Donald, Robert Quinn on the outside, and the Giants' pass blocking hasn't been great that this year. They had to switch up their whole offensive line due to that. So I think the Rams have a very big game here defensive-wise. Get some picks and some sacks in the spot. 3,100, I like the play. So those are my three defenses that I'm looking at. You got the Rams at 3,100, the Eagles at 33, and then the Texans at 36. So that's all I really got, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You got your defenses, your tight ends, wide receiver, running backs, and quarterbacks to throw in your lineups to make some money. Leave a like in the video before you head out. It really helps me out. I'll try to go over 200 likes like I was talking about before, and subscribe with notifications on to get these videos every single week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I wish you guys the best of luck this week. Follow me on Twitter for any other questions at MoneyWebby, and you can let me know how you guys do this week. Hope it's a big week for all of us. Let's take down some GPPs, some cash games, you name it, we're going to win it. We'll see you back here next week.